Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pastikas. I'm so glad you're here. With the Brave Women at Work podcast, you'll get the resources and tips along with real-world stories and humor to empower and inspire you to take bolder and braver actions in your career and life. Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pastikas. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hey everyone, how are you doing out there this week? So let's start with this question. What is or has been your plan A? So I'll tell you my plan A. My plan A was to go to college, get married, have 2 kids, and have a great career. I didn't know, and I did most of that, but I did know this. I didn't know that I would have postpartum anxiety and secondary infertility on the family front. And I didn't know that I was going to have burnout on what I thought was the path to career success. So as the cliche goes, life can throw us curveballs. And it is up to us on how we handle the challenges and pivot to plan B. So when I hear the term plan B, it's like oh crap, right? It's like, uh-oh, gotta lean to plan B. But it always has been seen in my mind, maybe I've judged plan B. I've been judgy of the term plan B. It's seen as the backup plan or the plan that isn't as good as plan A because inherently it's the next letter in the alphabet and it's plan B. If it was as good as plan B, it would have been plan A. But here's the thing, as I get older and farther along in my life and career, I don't think that's true. Sometimes our plan A wasn't right for us anyway. Maybe it was plan B, C, D, or E that are just as good or even better than plan A. So my guest today, Jackie Satera, and I talk about this very concept. When we're younger and just starting out, we have this vision, this grand vision for how things are going to go professionally and personally. We can't anticipate the bumps or the bruises along the way. And Jackie's story is so encouraging. And it's a testament to finding joy in the pivot to a different way of living and working. So during the podcast, Jackie and I chatted about what led her to participate in the latest Brave Women at Work women's anthology, which is called Brave Women at Work: Lessons in Letting Go. Why her title of her chapter is called From Pantsuits to Swimsuits. How fun is that? Why last summer was the best summer of her life. Doesn't that sound yummy? What she hopes readers will take away from her story. And why being where your feet are is an important mantra for Jackie and how she tries to incorporate. She talks about how tries to incorporate it into her life even today. And how space and time led to the formation of Jackie's business, J&C Innovations. So here is more about Jackie. Jacqueline Satera, also known as Jackie or Jax to many, is a passionate advocate for women's empowerment and a seasoned professional with nearly 20 years of experience in higher education and event planning. She is the founder and CEO of J&C Innovations, a business dedicated to curating unique experiences through consulting, event planning, and specialty gift services. Jackie combines her entrepreneurial spirit with her talent for creating moments of joy and connection. Her journey of embracing freedom and letting go was transformative, leading her to launch her business. This journey also deepened her understanding of the unique challenges women face across professions. Drawing from these insights and her passion for uplifting others, in 2022, she created Lead Hership, a program designed to inspire and empower women on their professional and personal journeys. Jackie's commitment to helping others shines through her work as she continues to curate meaningful experiences and encourage women to lead bold and courageous lives. You can, of course, connect with Jackie via her jncinnovations.com website or on LinkedIn. So if Brave Women at Work has made a mark on you, it's left a mark on you, be sure to share the show with a friend, family member, or colleague. And then, of course, just as a reminder, you can do me a grand gesture by leaving a rating and review on any of the podcast platforms, but especially the Apple Podcast location. And then last reminder is that hit the plus sign when you're in the Apple podcast, if you're an iPhone user, to get that into your weekly feed so you can hear who am I interviewing. I've got some amazing guests continually coming up on top of this conversation. So you'll get to hear those interviews week to week. And then me potentially periodically on a solo episode. I give you, I pontificate on many a topic across the podcast airwaves. Also, if you haven't yet downloaded one or all the freebies from my website, check them out at bravewomenatwork.com. The three are getting paid 10 negotiation tips, 24 career and leadership affirmations, and 5 ways to managing your imposter syndrome. And they're workbook style guides. I come from a teaching family. My mom was a teacher for 37 years. So I like to make things applicable, right? I just don't want to give you stuff and then you can't do anything with it. So I give you places to write and dream and, kind of put your notes in there. And of course, you can complete them at your own time. So check them out at my website, right on the homepage, bravewomenatwork.com. One last announcement, the hardcover for Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go, which Jackie is part of and now is a best-selling author from our Amazon launch on the ebook earlier this spring. The hardcover version is launching on June 24th. So by sharing their stories, Jackie and all of the authors, they just give us such beautiful lessons in letting go of relationships, habits, and other maybe bad or not so great patterns that they just don't serve us any longer. So you can pick up the hardcover version of the book and get it in your hands or give it as a gift in just a few short days. It's going to be available on June 24th, 2025 on Amazon. All right, let's welcome Jackie to the show. Well, hey, Jackie, welcome to Brave Women at Work. How are you today?
Thanks, Jen. I am wonderful. How are you doing?
I am so good. And if you saw Jackie, she has this gorgeous green shirt on that celebrates our book, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go, which just hit in 9 categories. Jackie, congratulations on becoming a best-selling author.
Well, thank you so much. It's very exciting and almost unreal to think about.
I totally agree. So I love to start with women's stories. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and anywhere you want. It's a huge broad question. So wherever you'd like to start, tell us about you, your background, and where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks again for having me today. I'm very excited to be here and very excited for the book to be out into the world and the universe. So, a little bit about me. Thinking about my background and starting there, my background is rooted in education, leadership, and event planning. For years, I wore a business suit proudly, building a career around structure, performance, and outward success. But life has a way of calling us into a deeper alignment. And after attending a women's retreat a few years ago, I had a true awakening that my career and identity, or that my career was my identity and my identity was my career, and that was not sustainable. And that's when this journey of becoming an author really began for me. The shift, if you will, of listening to inward and trust, if you will, about what I wanted, put me on a completely different path. I set out on a journey to realign my life to match my goals and values.
So I have to ask you because I was at that retreat. We were there together, and I did not know that it just kind of blows my mind because we know what's happening on the outside, right? Like the iceberg of a person, but we don't know what's happening on the inside. And I was just wondering, was there anything like in particular? Was it just talking to the women? Was it listening to something in particular? We also know it was in beautiful Lake Las Vegas. So the scenery was, just breathtaking. What was it about it that started kind of maybe shifting you to a new way of being and living?
It wasn't honestly until after the retreat,
Mm.
like, and I'm not talking about like the day that I returned, right? We're talking about like keeping the connections going with the women and continuing to do the reflection. It was showing up for me more and more in the reflection of where I was in life, where I was in my job, in my career, and hearing the other stories, right? Like everybody's story is so unique and individualized, right? But there were certain themes from other women at the retreat too about where they were in life. Maybe some of it was job, some of it was personal, right? Like, but really reflecting on it. And then when the opportunity came for the book and learning what the theme, right, the title of the book
Mm-hmm.
was, it kind of all just came together and pieced together, and made sense that this was an amazing opportunity, to be a part of this book.
Mm-hmm. So was there a decision point or was it just like, yes, I have to? And just to give Hope is my business partner, everyone. She is the homeowner that we had the retreat in. She also has Hunter Street Press. So she's almost like here with us, even though she's not here with us. Uh, I can't give Hope and I credit for the theme or the timing. I think that was totally divine intervention. We asked either your retreat group or the retreat group before, I can't recall, but we asked them, like, all right, ladies, like, give us all of the themes for our future books. And so Hope and I kept this like scrap of paper with like 15 words on it. Or Hope asked me, she's like, Jen, do you have that piece of paper with 15 words on it, or themes on it? And I'm like, yeah, somewhere. And then we decided, which I think was divine intervention, that it was letting go, which so many of the authors have said that the timing for this is like unbelievable. So I was just wondering, was it the theme or was there anything else that led you to say, yes, I have to be an author in this book?
I think it was a little bit of the theme, but what's so interesting is that what I was originally going to write about wasn't what the chapter ended up being, because at the time when I committed, I had no intention of truly leaving my job. And
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and so I'm not going to share specifically what I was going to write because that might come to life in another book or another chapter
Sure.
someday. But I think it was just again like really deep diving internally, and realizing what I was doing was no longer serving me in my career and what I thought I wanted and the trajectory that I was going, it just switched, like something switched. So it was a little bit about the title,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also I had a personal goal to be published, and I saw this
Mm,
as my opportunity to do that.
mm. So what was the process like? This particular cohort of authors, I say this about all of the books, but I'm going to say this one was really special, like, and unique. It was like you guys all became like BFFs and like all started kind of like talking to one another right away, the majority of you anyway. So, what was the process like for you to write the chapter and become a first-time author?
Well, becoming an author still feels very surreal. This opportunity came at a time when I was navigating big life changes, like I just shared, right? So it was, again, that reflection, making life changes, and sharing my story in Brave Women at Work Lessons in Letting Go. It felt like the perfect way to process, continue the reflection, and offer hope to others potentially going through their own life transitions.
Mm-hmm. And tell us, so now I'm curious about the timeline, right? So you said you committed to the book, thought of something different. We're not going to spoil it. Future book, future chapter. No problem, everybody. She'll be back. But what I wanted to know is what was the timeline? So you decided to do the book. I did not know this. I thought you already had made a decision, but it was in the opposite order. So tell us the timeline and like what actually happened.
So I got the invite to come to the retreat from a dear friend and mentor colleague. So when I learned about the retreat, I was teeter-tottering between like ugh, the timing of it, right? Like I worked in higher education. I lived my life by semesters,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I never, until now, I've never really lived my life in like quarters or like by the calendar year starting in January. It was always
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what's going on in May, or whatever month it was. And like, ugh, can I swing it? Can I not swing it? So it was a lot of even reflecting in that moment of like, do I take the time and go to this retreat? Do I invest in myself, pour into myself? And so after figuring it out, I went, and it was there. So I had known about Brave Women at Work, about the books, right? About the three
Mm,
other books. I knew authors that were in the books, but it was at the retreat that I was able to connect with some of the authors and then learn that at the retreat is where I learned that there was going to be another book coming out. And I
mm-hmm,
don't remember off the top of my head right now if we even knew the theme then, like at that moment
mm-mm,
at that retreat. I think it
mm-mm.
was just like, here's another book coming, or because we were also there like celebrating that book and
Yes.
the authors in it. So it wasn't much of it was just kind of like, oh, there's this opportunity, right? Like kind of let us know if you're interested, or whatever the case may be. So that was like the first step. I'm like, ooh, there's this opportunity, right? And and yes, I want in, like I'm very interested. And then after the retreat, right, like I continued to reflect and pour into myself and dive deeper into the relationships and connections with the women that were there, right? Like specifically with you, with Hope, and a handful of the other women who are definitely in my circle to this day, and I consider very close and near and dear to my heart. But it wasn't, I think, until months later, I don't remember what month, that it came, like, right, the email started coming out about like, oh, okay, here's the theme, here's the process to be in the book. What, right? Like, let us know by this date if you're in. So it was like, I want to say almost like a year in progress, if that makes
Yes. Yeah, it was from like February to August. It was when we started. But then tell me, and I don't want to steal from, your lessons on your chapter. So everyone, it's pantsuits to swimsuits. And I just can't wait for Jackie to tell her story here. But when did you actually leave your role? Was it in that summer? When did you actually leave?
it was last June.
Okay. Okay. So February everyone was the retreat. So just to the reason I'm making a big deal about this timeline is just to show how we have like this plan A and we think that our lives are going to be in a certain way and how quickly things can shift. Like you have this whole and I'm even getting kind of like, oh, it's scary, right? Like you have this whole career, you go to this retreat, you kind of simmer on it. By June, you've left your job. By August, you're like in a cohort to write a book. Like, I mean, it's like a big deal, right? So I just want people to know that you too can make, significant shifts in your life if you make those decisions. So finishing off on the authorship piece, what were the biggest learnings that you learned? Because I think you were such a critical piece in the authorship. And I want to compliment you that you added like your own sparkle to our process, which I really appreciate with our author spotlights and your own launch party, which was really cool. So you kind of started weaving in your other strengths and gifts that you bring to the world in with authorship. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. So I think for me, there was a lot learned, right? So I think narrowing it down, the overall process was both like opening up and being vulnerable, and it was also so empowering, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of simultaneously, but at different parts from like writing, reflecting, reading your own words,
Mm-hmm.
so I would use those two words definitely as like lessons learned. I think putting my story on paper forced me to be honest with myself in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a different way to reflect, right? Different than like just taking your pen or pencil to paper and journaling, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In a different way in that way. I've always believed in the power of women using their voice in work, in life, in society, in community, basically in all spaces. I definitely define myself as a woman who uses my voice daily for one reason or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have experienced firsthand how not all leaders, supervisors, people in general value the power of voice, specifically a woman's voice. But I always keep going. And writing for this book gave me the power and freedom to use my voice and tell my story.
Mm. Oh my God, that's so good. I got like goosebumps when I like kind of felt the because you know that spoiler alert everyone. and this isn't an ad for my second business, but this has also inspired me to like do my marketing, right? And help women and entrepreneurs and like get their voices in the world. So you guys will hear more about that on a future podcast. But let's go back to the title of your chapter, Pantsuits to Swimsuits. And so what was really fun, and I'm talking to the listeners for a second here, is that like I was talking, we would have calls and Jackie was like, I'm going to the beach. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to come. I want to come too, right? And we were like in real time, like actually watching you live the best summer of your life, right? While, while we're over here going, what the heck are we doing wrong? Hope and I are like, what are we doing wrong? Jackie's doing something right. So tell us a little bit, like give us a teaser of your chapter, because I want people, of course, to get this book. I want them to really take some of the lessons from your book. I want them to study your chapter because I have learned a lot from it. So give us some kind of like maybe a high level arc or some of the key takeaways, but let's not give all the spoilers out.
Sure. So I think first I'll start with letting go doesn't mean failure. It means
Mm-hmm.
choosing freedom, at least for me, right? That's what it meant in this adventure, in this journey of writing. I would say I want readers to see that stepping away from their like mapped out life plan, because I was very much that person, right? Like planned, type A, like
Mm-hmm.
to-do list. And I still am to a certain extent, but not in the way that I was. So having that mapped out life plan could actually lead them closer to their truth, right? Like it's okay to evolve. You can trade in your suit for a swimsuit and still be powerful, just in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's of course important to have plans and goals, etc. And it's okay to rewrite them and shift as life shifts because we all know that it certainly does. So I think for me in my career, for a while, and I'll read a quote from the
Yes, please
chapter.
do. Yes.
For a while, I felt like I was running in my high heels, chasing the next opportunity at work, or rushing to take on more responsibilities. And where did that get me? I was stressed out, burnt out, losing my hair, and barely sleeping. I doubted myself, and I was out of gas. And I share that because I want listeners and readers to know and truly understand you are who you are. Whether you choose to wear a business suit, rock a pair of sneakers to a meeting, wear 4-inch heels to close a deal, or do business in a bathing suit, as Jen mentioned last summer, I was certainly in many meetings in my bathing suit in my car. um,
No, it's awesome.
right? Like I made it work for me, right? And I was still successful in that, and we still got work done
Yeah,
all
we did.
throughout the summer, right?
Yeah.
And so it all matters and it all counts. So you just need to stay true to who you are.
So you're really challenging me today in a big way, which is good. It's really, really good. So when I hear that, I'm like, yes, and I'm totally freaked out. Like I am totally flipped out over here as a perfectionist, gold star chaser, admittedly. And I don't know, maybe you had that, maybe you've never had that, and God bless if you've never had that before. But thinking about that, I think I would maybe get close to burnout or breakdown again because of the my own expectations. And so I was wondering, because I think you're on the other side of it, did you have a period where I guess when you let go of the position, I know because of the chapter that there was like a big relief. I've read sections about the relief you had, which had to feel awesome that you're like, I'm making the right choice. I'm now putting myself as the avatar in your story, thinking if I was doing this, and I would be like, holy, like I'd be like, oh my God. Like I would be like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? Do I have to go back? Do I have to knock at their door again? Oh my God, like scarcity, like all the things would come up for me and exhume like zombies. And so I just wanted to know what was it like to go through that process, and maybe you didn't, but I know I would, and I know a lot of our listeners would have to go through this process of like grief and sadness and fear and perfectionism. And because you're like way rocking the other side now. And maybe you're still in it. So tell me what that process was like to let go of those personal expectations to move forward.
So the first thing I'll say is it was freeing,
Mm,
but it was a journey. So everything that you just said was very much true for me, right? Like it wasn't,
okay.
right? Like there was 100% relief, right? Specifically the next day. But then there was also like a little bit about like, okay, right? Like I was so like on pilot, right? Like what, like a typical day for me, like a work day, I would wake up at 5 a.m. I would do CrossFit at 5:45 in the morning. I would come
Oh,
home, I would shower, and then I would go to my office early. I always arrived before everybody else did, right? Like truly, I loved my office and I loved, generally speaking, I loved my job, right? Like up until all of these different things started happening, um, I was always at work, right? Like I would go in early, I would stay late, I was there on the weekends, I would go to events at the university, and all of that stuff made me happy and brought me joy. But then when things started changing, right? Like it was just a shift. And it was also part of that reflection of like, this is my life, this is my identity, and this is not sustainable for all of the other goals, dreams, aspirations that I have. I can't continue to like push like the reset
yeah.
button of like the same thing every day, right? Like it's not like going to work early every single day. Why? Right? Like I felt like I needed to do that in order to like catch up, or I didn't respond to that email, or somebody is going to be like looking for the right. Like it was all this internal stuff that I was just like making up of like I had to do all these things to be successful.
Hmm.
Um, so I went through all of that, right? Like, okay, now what? Right? Like I don't have to get up and get dressed, right? And like some days
Awesome.
I didn't. And yeah, it was awesome, right? Like some days, and I share this, in the book, some days I literally stayed in my pajamas all day. And it was awesome. It was truly awesome
Hmm.
because nothing was so important that I had to leave my house. Or, right, like I wasn't like going off of a checklist and a to-do list every single day of like, okay, I need to accomplish these things in this order, right? Like that's very
Hmm.
much who I am as a person. And I still make lists and I still, set expectations for myself. And sometimes like I look at my list and I'm like, okay, this is too much for today, right? Like
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
we need to like have time to enjoy the day, right? Especially like beautiful days where the sun is out and the beach is right around the corner and calling, or or whatever. We are approaching summer. But like yes, I experienced all of those things, and it was a process, and it took time. And so I just came, generally speaking, I came to understand that the career that I had wasn't my dream job, right? Like I thought like I wanted this job and I have to do all of these things, right? Like X, Y, and Z to get there. But it wasn't glorious. Like that process of doing all of those things, like working around the clock and not taking time for myself and self-care and all of those things, it wasn't glorious. And I didn't want it to be my identity anymore. So letting go of the expectations, it was terrifying and exhilarating, like all at the same time, right? Like a lot of different
Mm.
emotions, right? Like there were good days and bad days in it. Just like the process, it was a grief process. It was a process of going through like the stages of mourning, realistically. I had to mourn the identity that I had built for myself or of myself, but I also discovered how heavy that identity had become, and it wasn't what I wanted anymore.
So, okay, I have a question. So this is something that's happening to me, and I was just wondering if this happened to you. So when I look, I have like some Tupperware, like big Tupperware containers in my crawl space in my basement. And it's springtime, right? Like in the US, as we're talking about this, and we're getting closer to summer, and that like gets us all like, let's clean, right? So then I'm in my crawl space cleaning, and I look at those suits, Jackie, and I'm like, blah. Like I just like I'm so I don't want to wear them. I'm excited of like some of the charitable things we're thinking about for our conference so that I
Yeah.
can donate things to women that may need them, hopefully. And if not, in another form or fashion. So I was just wondering, have you evolved also in like your style or how you like move, like in terms of clothes? And this sounds like funny, but it's not. This is the adornment of who we are, right? So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think
Okay.
like for me, who I am as a person, like generally speaking, I love to get dressed and go out into the world, right? Like
Okay.
so, but I also love going out in yoga pants and a sweatshirt. So
Okay.
right. So like so I'm a little bit all over the place with that, and so I believe what I'm going to say probably also sounds like contradicting in and of itself and could maybe be a whole nother like podcast or book situation,
It's
right?
fine.
Like, generally speaking, I believe it's important how you show up, right? In general, in
Mm,
the world. I think there's a balance of showing up as you, right? Like being your authentic self and expressing yourself through your clothes and how you dress and the colors, and
mm-hmm,
working in higher education for so long and being a part of like job interviews and mentoring and coaching,
mm-hmm.
younger professionals, right? Like around the job search process or job search season. Even from what we talked about like 20 years ago to what we say now, right? Like there was a time when people would say, oh no, you don't wear like a pop of color and you don't wear big earrings. And, those people that know me know, like I have long nails and I love my nails. My nails are 100% a part of my identity. And when I, and when I was younger and going through the job search process, like I was told time and time again to cut my nails, and I always did. Now I'm not cutting my nails, right? Like, so, and I just use that as like one example,
But that
right?
is an example. Yes.
Um, right. And so I think it has evolved in general. I think first impressions are also very real, right? And somebody's
Okay.
gonna, right, like judge you and like what does it say? They make their first impression if like in 20 seconds or whatever.
Yes, it's pretty fast. Yes.
Right. So like I think that that's important, but I think it's a delicate dance, right, of showing up as you, right? And then you need to find the opportunity for people to get to know you, build the relationship, know your work ethic, know your initiative, because those things at the end of the day, for me, speak louder, right, than what you show up to a meeting as, right? So maybe like the first meeting, like, yes, right, you got to dress the part and do all the things, and we can argue back and forth of if that's true, right? Like,
Sure.
right. All of those things. But once people get to know you and they know your work, right? Like who cares if you're wearing a business suit or a bathing suit while we're having the conversation of the work that needs to get done, right? So I think it can evolve. So to answer your question, like, yeah, there's still some days where I wear suits to meetings and, with
Okay.
clients if I'm meeting them in person or if I'm on a Zoom and we know it's going to be recorded, right? Like I'm not going to sit here in like my my bathing suit for that,
No
right?
judgment if you did, right? That might be kind of interesting.
And maybe one day I will. I don't know,
Yeah.
right? So like I think time and place and all of that, right? Like again, we can like have conversations and argue back and forth of who agrees with what, but I think it's feeling comfortable in your own skin, right? Like wearing things that you feel good in, right? Some days I want to wear a suit. Like I love a good pop of color. I love stiletto high heels. I try to continue to wear them even though I'm not necessarily going into an office every single day because I have the fear if I stop wearing them, then I'll never put them back on. So some days I'll like put them on and just like go shopping. I'm very uncomfortable when I do that, but I do it. Um,
You're so funny. Well,
but then
I don't have any stilettos, so I apologize about that. You must have, do you have a feet that can handle stilettos? Because I can't wear them.
yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah, no, not over here. I'm, boring. I'm not even going to tell you about my shoe situation. Anyway.
It's you, right? Like, and some people wear suits and sneakers, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's right, like, you make it work for you. So, there are some days I get all dressed up and go out into the world, and then there's some days where I wear my sweatpants and a t-shirt and my sneakers and I run around, like especially like on days where I'm like building baskets for
Yeah,
clients,
of
right? Like I have to
course.
go to a bunch of different stores. I'm not doing that in like 4-inch heels.
Oh wow. I'd be impressed. Like I'm impressed what regardless of what you do, but yeah, in 4 inchers, I'd be like, what? Okay. So you said something, you gave us a little clue on, so on the other side of the surrendering process, that grief process, you started your business, JNC Innovations, which I think, tell me if this is like kind of the umbrella of like everything that you're doing. But tell us, because you also call yourself a jacks of all trades and you do a lot of different things really well. So tell us about the business, if that was always kind of like a dream that was in, your gut that you just wanted to get out there, or if it actually was a byproduct of letting go.
Sure. I JNC Innovations was born out of my desire to bring all my gifts, right? Like being an educator, a leader, a connector, a creator into one authentic and purpose-driven business. So to answer your question, like I've always done these things, but never as a business. I've worked for catering companies, for wedding venues, right? Like ever since I was a teenager. When growing up, my mom had an event planning business,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I would help her. And so it was always a part of my life in one way or another.
Mm,
And like the event planning, and I also do specialty gifting, which I'll get to in a little while. All of those things I absolutely love doing and they bring me joy. So I've just always done them for other people, right? Like a friend is having a baby, I would offer to like do the baby shower. Or, my friends would, as we progressed in our careers, they were getting new jobs and promotions. I always celebrated them, right? Because I believe that you have to celebrate all that life has to offer, not
mm,
just the things that society says we should be celebrating.
mm.
And like anybody that knows me knows I love my birthday. I celebrate my birthday all month long. I'm a December baby. Um,
I'll keep that in mind. Okay.
um, but I also love celebrating other people's birthdays, right? So I always try to remember when people's birthdays are. I try to give a little gift or take them out. Like I just love celebrating. And so being able to incorporate that into my business makes me so happy. Like seeing smiles on other people's faces brings me so much joy. So we just celebrated Mother's Day, right? Like for all
Yes.
the mothers out there, mother figures. And so I had a few clients that asked me to curate some Mother's Day gifts for their wives. Um, and so, what I do when I build a basket, when I curate a basket for a client is we have a conversation, right? Like help me get to know who they are. Because when this individual opens the basket, I always like to say like the wow factor, right? Like when I do things and create things, the wow factor is really important to me. And so I want a client, whoever they're gifting to have that wow factor when they see the basket or the box. And so yesterday was Sunday, right? Yesterday.
Yes, it
Um,
was actually. I know,
um,
that's how I am.
I was getting text messages all day, like, oh my gosh, my wife loved it. Like, I got a wow when she went down into the kitchen. And so getting those like little text messages or, just like the reviews that come my way via text message, like make my heart so, so happy. Um, so yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so everybody, and you do you ship, I know you're East Coast, right? Jersey area, but do you ship across the country too? Will you
I do.
work with anyone? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And
So
so
I've personally received a basket or two at least, and they are gorgeous, everyone. So I just wanted to compliment you because you really do put your heart into. It's not like just some prefab stuff you throw into a box. Like you really, when we say curate, I'm not kidding. They're really beautiful.
thank you.
Yes. And so you do the boxes and the baskets, but I've also heard you do events. Like, you did all types of events. You're helping us. You're on our team with Thrive in 2025, which, everyone who's a longtime listener has heard about. So I mean, we are firsthand benefiting from your experience, your wisdom, your expertise. just your joy, your pure passion in this area. So are there any other things that you want to mention about your business and what you offer? Otherwise, we'll link everything up in the show notes. So if someone does have an event, whether they have summer birthdays or, hey, we're already like almost at mid-year, like some people do shop for Christmas in July. So
Yeah.
we'll link it all up. But is there anything else you want to share about your business?
Yeah, I'll say a couple other things. So just going back to the baskets for a second, I just like to mention, right, I do individual baskets for all of life celebrations, right? Like the birthdays, the holidays, but I also do corporate gifts or like thinking
Yes.
about, I say corporate gifts, but employee appreciation or new client gifts, or even like we're on a podcast now, right? So if there's other podcast hosters out there, like
Yes.
gifts for individuals that are on podcasts, right? Like really like the sky is the limit of what I can curate to give another individual, on somebody's behalf. As far as the event planning goes, I do it all from birthday parties to conferences and retreats. And so I do, right, like I'm on the East Coast, as Jen said. So locally, I do a lot of day of coordination. But I work with clients across the country for just logistics, right? So thinking about like vision mapping an event, right? Like
Mm.
from start to finish, how do you want it to flow? I always like to say logistics are my jam. I am a logistical girl at heart, or a logistical woman, I should say, at heart. And so all of that brings me joy, where I know other people are like, not my jam. So I can
Mhm.
help, right, like put together an outline of flow of all of that, thinking about like project management for in-person or virtual events.
Okay, so this is why this is like a partnership made in heaven because I am not. So if my husband were on the podcast, he'd be like, she is not logistics, like Pasticus, like JP's, like is logistics are not her jam. I'm an idea person. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a conference? Wouldn't it be cool if we wrote books? And then I run away. Like that's pretty much like what happens to me. So thank you so much for bringing your gifts to our sphere and to all of the clients that you work with. Um, One of the quotes I'm working on personally getting more present in my life, and I struggle with this because my mind's always in a million directions, like so many women and people listening to this podcast. But one of the quotes in your chapter is be where your feet are. And I know that when you're on a beach, that in putting your toes in the sand, that's probably pretty easy. But I was just wondering now, almost a year later, are you still living that quote? Are you living that mantra? I'm going to be where my feet are.
I am. I try to practice it daily. Some days are certainly easier than others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's funny because when I was on another podcast, Jen Smith's podcast, The Flourish Careers, we talked
Yes.
about. And I don't remember specifically what she asked me, but I don't remember where I originally heard this or who said it. So I would love to remember so I can give them credit. But I remember, I think I was in graduate school at the time. And
Mm.
I either heard somebody say it like a speaker or just in whatever circle I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. But I either like didn't write it down or, or whatever the case may be, but
Mm-hmm.
it always stuck with me. So, for me, be where your feet are. It's a reminder to just slow down and tune into like
Mm-hmm.
what's right in front of you, right? So, like you said, if I'm at the beach and my toes are in the sand, that is a perfect way to do that, right? Like to take in all the feels and the smells of, being on
Mm-hmm.
the beach with the ocean. But it's also what's right in front of me, right? So whether it's the beach or whether it's a client or being with my family or myself, right? Like that's just like pouring time and energy into those things intentionally and being in the moment, because for so long I was addicted to my computer, addicted to my email. Right. And I still pride myself very much of, I don't like to say like I'm addicted to I would always say I'm addicted to my email in like an unhealthy way. Right. And so, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not like, what do you get for that? Right. Like there's no prize for that. There's no prize for working 24/7 or checking your email
Nope.
right when you're at a stoplight, or right. All those unhealthy habits. So like I just incorporate them into my life as it makes sense. Right. Like carving out the time to just enjoy life because it's so short. right? And like spending time with people that you love and doing things that bring you joy is important. And that's how I want to spend the rest of my life.
Mm. It reminds me of this book, not to take us in a, sad or morbid, but I think it's important. So there's this book on death and dying, and it's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she did a study on folks that are passing away, and that was one of the things they said is, I wish I would have worked less. Like there is no prize for working 24/7, and so even through, your journey of, from pantsuits to swimsuits, it was difficult. Like it is a blessing to see that lesson earlier in your life rather than so late in your life. So I think it's a wonderful message that you're sharing for sure. What would you say? And we're working on, and everyone, I'm not, we have some extra surprises that are coming in the sphere, but we're not telling you. Okay. How about that for a cliffhanger? So Jackie and I are working on a special project together. I'm so pumped about this project. Are you pumped about this
I'm
project?
so excited for it. So
I mean,
excited. I
it's
was
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, so everybody stay tuned. It's coming soon. It's coming soonish. Like we'll get it out there in your world. But it definitely involves this whole question. So, to you, Jackie, what are 1 to 2 ways women can be braver at work today?
First of all, I just love this question in general.
Yes.
So I would say the first thing that I would say for women to be braver at work, trust your intuition. It
Mm-hmm.
is a powerful thing. And I don't believe it's a weakness.
No.
I have always said that there is something to be said about a woman's intuition. So trust your intuition. And I would also say give yourself permission to evolve
Mm.
because we're not meant to stay the same, right? Like when you think of bravery, there's like the actual definition of what it means, right? Brave of what it means to
Yes.
be brave, bravery. But part of that for yourself can be letting yourself grow, right? Like giving yourself the permission to grow and evolve because sometimes it's doing that and like stepping into the unknown, which can be scary and terrifying and all of those things.
Yes.
So important, especially thinking about work, like in the workplace, in your career.
Of course. Yeah, I love that because, kind of capping us off here, like we talked about plan A and plan B. I mean, think about it. We made our plan A when we may have been in college. I mean, hello. Like you're like in a career a long time. Like you're in a career like 20, 30, 40 years, and we're not our parents' anymore. We're not hanging out and getting the gold watch. I mean, think about it. Maybe there's a reason that so many of our parents and our grandparents unfortunately didn't live very long in retirement because maybe it was because we weren't really living our passion. We weren't really being where our feet are. We weren't really listening to our intuition. So, thank you so much for sharing that. Kind of like, reminds me again. And every one of these shows inspires me. So, thank you, Jackie. So, why don't you tell us where women can find you, connect with you? Because I know community is so important to you, and find your work through JNC Innovations online.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. So Jackie Dash Cetera is my personal LinkedIn. And then I also have a business page on there, which is JNC Innovations Curating Unique Experiences. So feel free to find me on the LinkedIn platform. My website is jncinnovations.com. And then on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, it's just at JNC Innovation. So I look forward to connecting.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for stepping out and being such an awesome example to us, for letting go, for coming to that retreat after, maybe not being so sure, right? And seeing how your life would unfold in new and interesting ways. And I can't wait to see what we cook up together and you do on your own in the future. I'm really excited.
Thank you so much, Jen, for everything and for the opportunity to be here with you today.
Well, that's a wrap on my discussion with Jackie today. I hope you found our conversation both valuable and inspiring. As a reminder, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The show is also available on any other podcast platform you enjoy. Until next time, show up, Allow yourself to evolve and be brave.